Why your very own business, the one you started with your bare hands, is about to fire you. Listen in as Randy and Rob talk about how to prevent from being let go from your own company. Enjoy. This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. So, hey, Rob, I'm so glad we're back together. The Two Business Guys are going to be masterminding on a topic that I think not a lot of people are talking about. Rob, look, businesses, I think they talk about the great resignation where there's like 4 million people that aren't going back to their jobs. Well, if they took statistics about how many businesses are about to fire their owners, I think you might come up with a thing too. So hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We wanted to mastermind on this because we think this is a problem. And Rob and I were talking about what we're doing in our own businesses so they don't fire us, right? And I'm talking about the businesses that you own, that you started, your baby. Have you fallen out of love with it? What's going on? And we wanted to jump right into that because I think, Rob, some people have, because of the pandemic and because of a lot of other things, have pretty much said, I'm out. Their heart's not into it anymore. So here we came up with a couple of topics. And guys, tell us what you think about this. Give us in the description field, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're hearing this on however you get your podcast, send us a message. Tell us if you agree or disagree. If you like, hey, look, I like what Rob is saying, I like what Randy is saying. Let us know. We don't want to hear back from you. This is not just Rob and I getting on here, just blah 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 blah. We're saying, can this benefit you, right? And if you disagree, if you got some things that you want to say about this, we will take a look at those and we'll mastermind on those ideas. See if we can create something. See if we can make it a little easier for you. But leave us just some messaging in the description field and we'll get back to you. But here's what I was thinking, Rob, that so many people's businesses wants to fire them because they're not putting in the time. And I want to, punctuate that by giving you an example. I sent over to an entrepreneur that I'm working with. And I said to him literally, hey, what do you think your business needs from you right now? And he came back, right? Just this morning, he took a whole day to answer that. What do you think your business needs from you right now? And this is what he said. He says, I think my business needs marketing. Now, I do marketing, right? I help you. That is the lifeblood. I help you find customers. I help you, find the opportunities. I help you monetize things. What is it that you think your business needs for you? And I think so many people are doing things. One of the things that, let's start off with this. I asked another entrepreneur group, I says, hey, why are you cheating on your business? Right? Like it was a relationship. Why are you cheating on your business? And what I mean by that is you're doing 4 to 5 other things. You're like a business polygamist. Right? What's going on? Why are you doing that? So, Rob, what is happening that you believe is making, and I know the entrepreneurial disease ideas, but what do you think is happening? Why are these businesses about to fire their owners?
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good question. And I was chuckling when we were going back and forth over text, because I think a lot of the things that people are dealing with, right? There's a number of mindset issues. I think it always comes back, and we always start with mindset. When we first start out, and a lot of business owners first start out, they have an idea of business that is not, it's not plausible given the realities of business. It's not what actually business is about. But again, this goes back to what we were talking about last week. If you don't have a mentor, if you don't have somebody who can talk to you and tell you, hey, you don't want to go down that path just yet, right? Patrick Bet-David, founder of PHP Agency and Valuetainment, he said this. He wrote a book, Your Next 5 Moves. But one of the things he said in the book was, grandmasters in chess think 15 to 20 moves ahead in a game, right? But one of the things that so many entrepreneurs struggle with is, even if you get to the point where you can think 15 to 20 moves ahead, what a lot of entrepreneurs will then do is they'll do the moves out of order. So they'll rush to move 14 when they should be doing move 3. Right. And so many times, I mean, I've had that experience myself so many times. As a matter of fact, just right now, recently in my business, right?
The impatient entrepreneur.
Yeah, the impatient entrepreneur, or trying to get too much done and not understanding the seasons, right? I've been running my business. This is, the 4th business that I've run. All of the other ones, like we talked about before, they were generally side hustles. So they got the seasons that my other job, that my main hustle, right, would allow them. Whereas now I have a business that I'm a full-time entrepreneur. And so one of the things that's interesting with that is you have to figure out what the seasons of that business are. We've just come through, quarter 3, June to September is normally the slow period in my business. Every year, it doesn't matter what we've done. We've grown every year. We grew 40% the first year. We grew 50% the next year. We grew 50% this year. So while the numbers have been different every year, every third quarter, there's a drop, there's a dip. And what's interesting is, for the first couple of years, I was always trying to do something instead of understanding and incorporating that drop into my yearly planning, so that I could actually do stuff. Like now I know that during third quarter, that's when I'm going to take my vacations every year. During third quarter, that's when I'm going to recoup. That's when I'm going to spend time planning for the next year. Like I'm going to use that downtime productively instead of trying to make that downtime disappear. And that's the thing that I think, but that's a mindset shift, right? Like that's a piece of, it's not that I'm doing something wrong during this period of time, but it's really understanding my market, understanding that third quarter is summertime. That's when everybody else is going on vacation. That's when businesses are gearing up for a fourth quarter push. That's when all of this type of stuff is happening. And because I'm in the space of leadership and leadership development, that's not when they're getting a lot of people together for speeches. There's not when they're putting a lot of people in the workshops. That's not when that stuff is happening. Is it happening around the world somewhere? Yes. But is that, where the majority of the work is happening? No. But for me, I felt like, well, I'm not being busy enough. I'm not doing enough work. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in that space of, I don't have the results that I want. And so that means I'm not busy enough. And so then they go get busy with the new shiny object instead of getting into the lab and mastering what they're doing. That's and the craziest thing, right? The craziest thing is every time I've gotten back in the lab, went and mastered my craft, when I've come back out, that's where that growth comes from. This quarter is what propels the growth that we've had every year, because every year, almost out of necessity, I've had to really buckle down because I tried a couple of things in the beginning of the quarter. I was spastic for the first couple of years. And then I realized, oh, that's not working. And so then I'm like, okay, so how am I going to make everything work? And that's when I would launch different programs. That's when I would do different things and I would put all that work in. And then boom, now the program is making, X amount of thousands of dollars. This thing is going on and it's happening every third quarter. I've created something that in the next year has then blossomed into more revenue. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have to just be comfortable with where they are and who they are. So I don't know what you think, Randy.
It sounds to me like that when I think about why your business might want to fire you is because, and if I listen to what you're saying, it sounds like, you're not thinking strategically and understanding these cycles, that maybe you're not taking a look at the market and you're not preparing in a way that the market wants you to prepare. Right? And this is what I found oftentimes. And, one of the other bullet points that I had was, the cheating on you and then you've lost that feeling for me, right? It's that period of time, it's that lull, right? And if something bad happens, if some new shiny thing comes along, like you talked about, then you'll start running around. Now we're looking, it sounds like a relationship. You start running around with this new shiny thing. And the old business is like, hey, I still feed you. What are you doing? Why are you being a business polygamy? What's happening here? Why? So, and then I found, at least what I've been doing, is just kind of renewing, right? So entrepreneurs, as you're listening out there, Rob, I tell you, I have read probably over this I'm literally running out of books. I'm looking in my on Amazon, I'm going, oh man, I'm looking at my Kindle and I'm going, wow, I've read probably 8 books over the last 30 days. And one of those was, I just made a commitment to always having it in my ear, right? And I say read, listen to, right? Take notes on and stuff like that. But I had them there all that time. And I just used Alexa, right? She talks to me and she, and I'll put her in my ear and I'll drive and all that kind of stuff, right? I could use Audible, but I prefer to have my books on Kindle so I can go back to them and then I can highlight things. And I just been putting that in. So it's taking that downtime, right? Instead of saying, hey, okay, business, I'm about to, chase this new shiny thing. I've just been taking the approach of, I want to do better by you. So let me go and learn some more stuff that I can bring to you. Right. So you got are you cheating on the business? Now, when I say cheating, I'm talking about, again, people that are scaling all these mountains, right? They got 4 to 5 businesses going. And I was in this entrepreneur group not too long ago. And a guy says, if you're doing 4 to 5 hustles, that's telling you a story. And one of them, right, isn't enough. So it's like, I look at that and I says, yeah, the business is saying, oh, am I not enough? Well, if you stopped messing around on me, you could concentrate on me. And then what would happen if you put all of that energy into that? Right. And then that becomes a question. If the business could talk, it would say, have you lost that loving feeling, toward me? And you said, no, I just, it's third quarter and I didn't understand the dips and stuff like that. And I'm saying, well, I've been wanting to fish and I want to, do more reading and all that kind of stuff. And then things seem to ramp back up, right? At a certain time, they just ramp back up. I was telling Linda the other day, I said, it's almost like my body knows that it's summer too. Right? You just don't want to get up the same way. And then as soon as, all those years of conditioning of us going to school in a certain way, getting up at a certain time, being on break at a certain time, seems to have conditioned us. So maybe a little bit of that's happening, right? You get the wandering eye because it's summer. Sun's out, guns out, right?
Exactly. It definitely. And I think the thing, again, going back to that, the Patrick Bet-David point, like so many people think that, but this business, it doesn't take care of all of my visions and all of my dreams. And that makes perfect sense because, entrepreneurs are visionary. Like, we're trying to change the world. It's not just, I want to build one business. I want to do these, 15 things. But the thing that you got to realize, and this is the thing that I had to learn, and it really helped me to go through and think about these things. You have to build the one so that it is so that you know how to build it and so that you know how to exit it. Whether your exit is to hire a team to do the work that you're doing, and now you're a literal CEO instead of just a figurehead CEO, right? We all put CEO on our business cards, even though we're the CEO of a one-person shop, which, right, isn't the same thing, right? But in that space, you have to get yourself to the point where you can hire other people, where you can bring other people in to do the work that you're doing, where you can actually get to what Michael Gerber talked about in emyth, to where you're working on the business instead of in the business. Because from that perspective, once you've done that, once you've completed that journey, now you can duplicate that journey. But what so many people wind up doing is they're a technician in this business, and then they go and build another business where they're a technician, and they build another business where they're a technician. So they really got 3 or 4 jobs. They're like that in Living Color sketch where they used to always, where they were talking about, you know, they were Jamaican. They were like, how many jobs you got, man? You only got 3 jobs. You only got 3 jobs. What are you doing, man? You're so lazy. I got 5 jobs, right? Like that whole thing. And, you know, Keenan and Damon were, it was a hilarious sketch back in the day. But Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in Cash Flow Quadrant. He says a lot of small business owners get stuck with the Frank Sinatra kind of earworm. I did it my way, right? That concept of, you know, nobody can do it better than me. I'm my own boss. I did it my way. But the problem with that is you're giving yourself a perpetual job. If I was just talking to an entrepreneur that I'm coaching now, and she was just coming up against this issue where, you know, she's in the photography business. She is the business. If she's not there to take pictures, like she can't take vacations, she can't go and deal with, you know, family issues. She can't do any of the rest of that, because if she's not there to take pictures, the business doesn't run. And so she's now in that space where she's like, I got to fix this. She's starting to bring on some apprentice photographers and some things like that, because while she's really good at what she does, she just has a really nice job. She doesn't have a business yet. And so many entrepreneurs are struggling because they don't know how to turn that job that they created into a business. And so they go to try to create another job, which just makes it that much harder to turn either one of them into a business.
And it speaks to the fact that if they looked at themselves from the emyth perspective, I got the book right here, the emyth perspective, then they really would be saying to themselves, I am a perpetual technician. Right now, you know, I've been doing Rob, I've been doing a lot of collaborations, right? I got a new one that I'm starting off in it's in the career space, because I see opportunity. I see opportunity with the Great Resignation, right? The people are saying, you know what, I'm not coming back to you. If you can't give it to me like this remotely, or like this on my own terms, or like this with my, you know, the money I want, I'm not coming back. Right. And then we're going to have the fact that in September, a lot of the, you know, unemployment stuff just stops. Right. And then so you're going to have people looking around. Yeah, you're going to have people looking around. So I said, I went to a young lady who, really, really funny story, who, when I was in the career development space, I actually did her resume for her. Right. Wait, you know, back then, it wasn't too far ago, but you know, when she was looking for work, you know, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, it's been, actually 4 years. But I noticed that she was about her grind. She got work. I was able to, you know, do her resume, and was able to, she went out and just did the hump, man. I mean, she got to work, because I told her, this is how you get work. You treat it like this. You get after it every day. You take your lunch in the middle of the day, and then you go after the next thing, right? So I identified, even back then, I said to myself, if ever I was in a different business, I would like to be in business with her. All these years later, all right, she comes through one of the programs that I work with, and teaching programs that I work with, entrepreneurship actually. And then I saw her again. I was like, hey, you look familiar to me. I can't place it. She's like, you did my resume all these years ago. You're the reason why, you know, I really went on and got this job, and I really started thinking about entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so now I says, well, you know, I'm thinking about going into this particular space, but I really need someone that has this particular skill set. It's the who, not how, right? I've been talking a lot about that. I think you turned me on to that.
Jim Collins, yeah.
Yeah. No, not Jim Collins, but this Sullivan, Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan, yep.
So the who, not how. So I says, can I find my who that will help me create this thing? Now I ask who to everything, who, not how. So, but anyway, so I see opportunity here, and I see what all these people are saying. You know what? I'm falling out of love with my business. I don't want to do this thing anymore. I don't want to be, having given myself another job in essence, right? So I'm saying, okay, in our career development company, I says, we will talk about 3 pillars, right? We'll talk about career, we'll talk about business, and then we'll talk about a self-development life. right? Because I think if I can speak to those, and I've been doing the research and looking at other companies that are in that space making a whole bunch of money, and I'm saying this is the time where people might say, well, I want to step away from career, but I want to go into business. Where can I go for that? Well, right here, because we're going to be talking about each one of those things, right? Anyway, so the business model is to start up in a specific way using content, right? Content first, see if we can draw people in, and it's doesn't take a lot of money up front and all that kind of stuff. Can we get you to the site? Can we get you to the stuff with content? I got my keyword search tools. Anyway, so but my point here is that it's because I'm noticing that trend of people falling out of love with what they had been doing, but they still want to do something. They don't want to sit around, right? So as you guys, entrepreneurs out there, if you're in that kind of space, right, that kind of headspace, and you're saying to yourself, I've been in this business for a while, and I'm really not feeling it anymore. The business is about to fire you. The next question you have to ask, and this is one of the topics, Rob, is it a question of, and you spoke to it earlier, mindset, but what about the ego? Will the ego let the business grow or go? Will you allow your ego? Because your ego is like, well, I'm in this business. It'll look bad if I stop it. I see that a lot. Or someone says, you know what, man, I'm a pillar in my community. I can't quit because it'll look bad, and I'll be letting a whole community of folks down. That's ego, but it's all ego.
Yeah.
The business model is saying, bro, I'm done. I'm busted, right? I can't support this anymore. So what part of ego do you believe it's keeping people in these situations too?
That's a deep question. I think that it's something you said something just recently, in that story that you were telling about the young lady that I think is really pivotal to this point, right? Like you said, I watched her and I said, if I was to be in business with somebody, I would like to be in business with that person. And I think that, this goes back to that whole thing. A lot of people trying to be moguls before their first, business owners, right? And
I like that.
You were there where you were looking for talent. You were constantly looking for people that can do things that you can't do or that you don't want to do. And you're scouting for that talent. That is such a powerful thing. And I think a lot of people don't do that because, again, they're trying to get their validation as to who they are. They're trying to get their validation, right? Because a lot of times starting a business is about believing that we are worth something, believing that we are, good enough, and dealing with all those wounds. So I think that you've always been good at, kind of spotting the talent in other people. So talk a little bit about, like, how do you do that? What was the shift, or what do you think the thing is that allows you to collaborate and to do as many joint ventures as you do? Because you do a lot of, just working with other people and finding and pulling other talent in and bringing people in. So what allows you to do that, man?
One of the biggest things that allowed me to do that is, again, and this speaks to the ego, I had to literally get my ego out of the way. And I had to tell my ego, look, you're keeping me broke, ego. And and I always tell people, don't let your ego keep you broke, right? The ego that says I need to ride this kind of ride before, like you said, become a mogul before I become a business owner. So what I've done is now I start taking a look at, okay, this is what I love to do. Can I get someone that loves to do something else? And can we use the energy in the difference? But then we have the energy in the similarities, that we have the, love for business. Can I come together and, we can, because of those two different energies, get something done? Like, for example, I can nerd out for real on different software tools, on different teaching methods. As you know, I send you texts all the time about different books, stuff that you should write. Words you should, stop saying or say it a certain way, because people might be going, don't tell me what to do. All these different things. And when I can find someone that has that different energy, right, that I'm allowed to at least maybe pour into a bit, and that they're empty enough to accept it. Well, what it does for me is help me empty. right? And then now, not all these collaborations work for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, and what I've been finding lately is that people that I've been, finding other people that are spinning a little bit too many plates too. One of a couple of their plates start falling, and my plate falls that we've spun together. Becomes a problem, right? Yeah. But in that particular time, such good things can occur. I always try to create something, right? I think with the last 3 collaborations I've done, we've been able to create something that lasts past the collaboration, right? So we create a book, create a course, create a something that we can eat on forever because we were able to grab that energy, utilize it, and move it forward. So, it's like when I says, hey, Rob, man, will you come on and be the next co-host of the show, bring your talents. And I knew you were busy, right? But I just identified something that I believe could be a pour into each other opportunity, right? Because you've been very, very good at being able to say, yeah, no, I don't think I'd look at it like that, right? Or you say, hey, you thought about this. And I always thought that was fitting, right? For my personality. When I bring something forward, it could be because of my perspective, and just hearing someone strong enough to be able to go, yeah, I don't think so. Maybe you should look at it like this, right? Or in the Euro, how do you say it? What you gotta do is tell me what I gotta do, buddy. But I mean, but that is enough to kind of snap you out of whatever you were biased toward or whatever, right? So just being able to identify those energies and saying, can I create something with this person very, very quickly? Because, sometimes relationships, like anything else, right, have their time and their cycles.
Exactly.
And if I can do that, I do that, right? If it works out very, very well, we make money. If it doesn't, I've never had anyone that I've not, had to separate from the collaboration, not talking to me now. We're still cool or whatever. We just stopped doing business together.
And I think that you pointed out something that was really powerful. You were like, what you said was, you look at what's in the other person, what strengths they have, and more importantly, you're aware of what your strengths are. I think so many times what people aren't, and we do this with the entrepreneurs that we coach, and it's so important to understand who you are, to understand what your strengths are in the areas where you're not as strong. I remember I was reading a book by Dean Graziosi, Millionaire Success Habits, and he was talking about how a lot of people are always trying to shore up their weaknesses. They're trying to make their weaknesses into strength. Right. And he's like, that's such an inefficient way to work, right? Like, you get exponentially greater returns from taking your strengths and making them mega strengths than you do from trying to turn your strengths into weaknesses. The thing that you need to do with your weaknesses is mitigate. You need to make sure that your weaknesses can't hurt you. Once your weaknesses can't hurt you, now you're at value neutral. If you're just looking at your weaknesses, and now your strengths are all positives. How do you make sure your weaknesses can't hurt you? You put people into your life, into your space that can make those things happen. And it's so important, I think, what you explained, right? Like, you understand what your strengths are. You're really good at getting product out. You're really good at getting at coordinating and doing the tech stuff and all the rest of that type of things. And the thing that I know for me, right, I had a podcast before. One of the reasons that I stopped doing a podcast is because the production side of it was the part that I was like, I don't like that. So until I got somebody, and not even so much just work, but it's like, it's work that I don't enjoy, right? Like, there's certain work that I enjoy. Like, I enjoy getting prepared for a podcast and doing the research. And like, I'm always reading books. I'm always sending you stuff. And we that's one of the places that we collaborate. But the back end production afterwards, I'm like, nah. So this was a great opportunity for me because
and I
that's the stuff that you exactly. That's the stuff that you love. And so I was
sitting there going, I was putting our last one together, and I was literally just getting too excited. Right? I was like, and it's because of just being able to take, the parts and pieces and bring in the intros and the outros. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand from a scale standpoint that could be, I literally could be the bottleneck there. Right. So what I should be doing kind of thing. But at the same time, so I built the skill up. Right. I know I've been following the guy, Alex Hormozy, and he talks a lot about that. He says, you in the beginning sometimes have to build up the skill. right?
Yes.
First, for the fact that if someone tried to, say to you, oh, well, to produce that, it's going to cost this much, you can say, hell no, it
Exactly.
won't cost that much. So from that standpoint, and I've done that where I've says, okay, here are the pieces. And it's like, well, that'll cost you, a couple $100. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It says,
Exactly.
bro, I can go and do this right now in Camtasia for nothing. So don't tell me that.
Exactly.
And then went
Exactly.
and did a video of me actually putting together one of the episodes. And, so then I captured the time, right? So, but here's what's, I remember I was listening to Jordan Peterson, for whatever people feel about this guy. And he was saying something. He says he wish he hadn't built businesses that are so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the production
Mm-hmm.
part and all that kind of stuff. He just wished that he had something that was easier, because when he got sick and he went down, coming back was harder. And that speaks to the falling out of love thing again,
Yeah.
right? You go back to the business, and I'm double checking my notes here, but you go back to the business and you start saying, business, you're hard. And then the business says, you're not working hard enough for me. And it clearly goes back to, when I'm working with the entrepreneur, I says, let's talk about your spreadsheet first. And I used to be totally different because I don't want to see all the numbers. I want to get people scared. But I says, that is a driver. It is so much a driver in what you do next, how much of that next you do, where you do that next. When you can look at your spreadsheet and says, okay, business, this is what I would like you to bring to the family.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, now, you got new shiny thing syndrome. That's fine. Each one of those has a responsibility. And if it does not meet its responsibility, you got to bounce it. Right? So if you look back at your spreadsheet and your spreadsheet says, well, if you say you want 100 grand, whether it's a month or a year, this is what you must do for me to get that. Now, if you refuse to do that, that's your ego talking. That's your ego keeping you broke.
Yeah.
But if you say, okay, I will run this amount of ads on these platforms that seem to work for you consistently. I'll run $300 a day to bring back 400. I will do this. But if you anywhere in there, you go, I don't want to do this. And this is what we're finding, right? A lot of people are saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I certainly don't want to go into that job in the business. I don't want to do you anymore either. So now what? Well, I kind of want to start up something new. All right. New shiny thing syndrome. What's its responsibility now? Right? You've got responsibility to whether it's collaborators, whether it's people that work for you, employees that have been bringing in from this other job that you are, or this other business that you're tired of now, or it's tired of you. Now what? Right? And I think this is where, if you entrepreneurs out there, if you're listening, this is where opportunity is. Right? Can you create a business right now that are helping people transition? You don't think it's a business out there? Absolutely. As I was talking to a guy last night at a networking event, and he says that's what he does. He's a CPA, and what he does, he's called into companies to really talk with the owners about, okay, this is what you should do next.
What's your exit event? Yep.
Right. You said it earlier. Have you built it to exit it? Exactly. Have you built it that it's buyable?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Have you built an entity that you can turn over? And on one hand, this is what this guy was telling me. He says, one of the owners he's working with, they want to sell, but yet they don't want to sell.
Exactly.
So they want to leave the situation, but they don't want to leave the situation. Right. They don't know what to do next. Can you now help people with what to do next? With their next?
And even and it doesn't even have to be binary as sell or not sell, right? Like the whole thing. Whenever I remember this was even back when I was in the Marine Corps. I used to bring my Marines in when I was a company commander. I was like, my whole purpose is that you work me out of a job, right? Like my goal is to make you so good at what you do because you're the subject matter expert. If I had my supply Marines and my logistics Marines, right? My comm Marines, all of the things, you're great at what you do. What I want you to do is get so good at it that you don't even need me watching you because you got the job. And what so many business owners don't realize is that when you create a business, your whole goal, and again, some people are just trying to create a job. Some people didn't like their 9 to 5 working with somebody else, they make they make that argument, well, why am I going to spend my life building somebody else's dream when I could build my dream? And if your dream is just to run that job, if your dream is just to have that job and that flexibility, that freedom of that job, that's cool. But if your dream is something different, if your dream is to actually, have time freedom and be able to travel the world and get to becoming an investor and to move through the quadrants like Robert Kiyosaki talks about, the one thing that you have to realize is a small business won't get you there because you are the business, right? Robert Kiyosaki always says it this way. You can tell the difference between a small business and a big business this way. If a small business owner leaves their business for a year and comes back, they have no business. If a big business owner leaves their business for a year and comes back, the business has grown, right? And that's the big distinction. So even if you're just trying to exit the job, right? Like you got business owners, have you created a job of chief executive or general manager of your business that would be enticing to somebody with those skills to come and do for the salary that you're making it, right? A lot of times people have only built their business to the point where they're getting paid a subsistence wage or they're just barely getting by. You can't hire somebody to do what you're doing for that type of money. So you got to go build the business to the point where you're making good enough money to do the job. And then you can pay somebody else that money. And now you can just make the overhead, the override over that, right? If you're paying somebody $50,000, $60,000 a year to run your company, and you can still make $30,000, $40,000 off of your company, now you've got something, because now you've got a full year that you can go and build up something else. Yeah. You got a full year and you've got a salary that's sitting there. When you have a business and you're really a business owner, you have a system that brings you money. That's its whole purpose.
You said it so succinctly, man. And it's, again, it goes back to, like I said, what are the reasons why your business might want to fire you? Right. Mm-hmm. One, we talked about you're cheating on it. You got 50 other things going on. You've lost because you may have lost that loving feeling for it, and maybe a quarter, right? A lull in a quarter, right? And then your ego won't let it grow. Being able to bring somebody in and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I can make $30,000 for doing nothing, even if I'm paying them this." Absolutely. And it's one of the reasons why I tell the entrepreneurs right away, let's start off with the salary, right? Let's plug it in. Even if you give some of it up, even if you are not, taking it all at the start of the business, it's in there because it then defines how many things you got to sell.
There you go.
How many times you got to sell it and all the good stuff, right? And then here's another one. Are you smothering the business? Right? Are you holding it so closely? And I've seen entrepreneurs do this. They're holding it so closely that they won't let it grow. They won't let it go. They won't let anybody else come in because, well, guess what? They believe they are the business. And that's, as you pointed out, is a losing proposition.
Yeah.
You believe you're the business. You can't go on any vacations. You might be in trouble. Right? You have no systems in place. You're probably in trouble. You have no scalability because you have given yourself a job. Then you're definitely in trouble. Right? And this is the thing that, as you're listening in, what we're talking about and why we're masterminding on this particular topic, everyone, is because we want you to see that bigger picture. Comment on this. Do you disagree with what we're talking about here? And if you do, tell us vehemently if you want to. Thumbs up it, thumbs down it. Come in and tell us, what do you mean? And let us mastermind on that. Let us talk to you a little bit more about that. But Rob, here's that last one, right, that I had as a topic, or that you had sent over as a topic. You've got your business set up that it has no future.
Yeah.
Imagine if someone came to you and says, "Hey, your kids have no future. And it's because of you." It's like, what do you mean? Well, you haven't prepared them. What do you mean I haven't prepared them? Well, you haven't done this, this, and this. So they have no future. They can't grow. They can't learn. They can't go any. That would be devastating to realize that you're responsible for that. So when you said that no vision, you don't have a future plan, walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, you know, and going with the whole relationship motif, right? You see a lot of relationships that are in that space where one party is looking at kids and marriage and the happily ever after, and the other party is just comfortable in the here and now. And that gets to a certain point where, right? Beyonce wrote a song about it, right? If you if you want to, you better put a ring on it, right? Like the whole idea of you've got to be committed to what you're doing, and you've got to actually be committed to having a plan and to having a vision, and not just some, you know, vague, well, yeah, I hope that something will happen in the future, but to clearly articulating your vision, right? To knowing what it is that you're working for. I think that this is what you got back that you alluded to when you were talking about the spreadsheet, right? The spreadsheet helps you to get clear on what you want, because what you want dictates what you must do, right? So many times people get into this habit of just doing stuff because they hear that that's what you're supposed to do. It's like, no, what you're supposed to do, quote unquote, is all tied to what you want to have and who you want to be, right? And there's that concept of be, do, have. You first have to decide who you are, right? I remember when I first started my business, the first milestone that I had was that I wanted to have a 6-figure business. I wanted to build a 6-figure business. That was it. And so everything that I thought about was, how do 6-figure business owners run, right? What are the things that a 6-figure business owner is doing? What are the types of contracts that a 6-figure business owner is involved in? What types of projects is a 6-figure business owner doing? Now that I've gotten my business to a 6-figure business, now we're on the next level. I'm thinking like a 7-figure business owner. And so that's why you know, we're reading different books, right? Now I'm reading Daniel, 12 months to a million and different things like that. Because we're talking about different things. I'm not thinking about, okay, how do I make another $100,000? I'm thinking about, how do I make another $900,000? How do I 10x? How do I scale? And so, interestingly enough,
I quoted him yesterday, by the way.
There you go, right? Like
4 products, 25 sales a day, on an average of $30 average per sale. Each item for 365 days is over $1 million.
Is over $1 million. Exactly.
I told a guy that, he looked at me like, that's it? I said, yes, you've got your first 2 products that are doing, 25 sales a day, right? I says, on an average of $30. I says, now find 2 more. It won't be hard. And then you put yourself in, and I got all of this from that book, 12 months to 1 million. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you were saying, right?
But the whole thing about it, in that book, he talks about so many different things, right? He talks about the way that you think about advertising, the way that you think about publicity, the way that you think about branding, the way that you think about marketing when you're trying to build a business that's a 7-figure business is way different than the way you think about branding, right? When I was building a 6-figure business, it was all about me. It was trying to get my name out there. It was trying to get my reputation up. It was trying to get people to be willing to hire me to do work. We're going a completely different direction in 2022, where it really isn't about me. Will I be, out there and will I be the spokesperson? Yes, but it's about the movement. It's about what legacy leadership means. It's about what it means to manifest greatness. It has nothing to do with me. And the transformation and just the things that we're doing, right? The podcast that we're putting out, the products that we're going to be offering, the advertisements and the videos that we're going to be doing, it changes things. But it changes not because that's what you should do in business, but because if I want to be a 7-figure business, here's how I operate.
It's a leverageability moment, right? Yes. And when I'm working with individuals and I'm trying to help them monetize their life, this is what I do. I says, here's how we're going to bring in products that help you monetize your life. When I'm working with companies, it's like, this is what we're going to bring in, look at, systematize to help you maximize your business, right? And it becomes, the curse of knowledge here for me is that it becomes very easy when you look at it, right? I'm running around, I got, like 20 different digital products that are out there, like little mutual funds doing their thing. Bring some in, look at them, fix them, put them back out, run some ads to them, boom. I got the YouTube channels, right? Stuff like that, right? So, and what got me into that mindset was how Thomas Edison would have in his workshop, he'd have multiple things going and people working on them, right? And he says, I don't want to put anything out that I can't make money from. right? So he was different than the other genius, Tesla, right? Who I think at one time worked for him. But he was like, look, first things first, I got to create something that will make money. And I want to be able to go to various things that if I'm stuck in one, right? If I, writing a book or something, I got, 8 books out there right now. So it's like, if something sticks in one area, I can go to the other part of the workshop and, help out this technician collaboration, right? Or I can go to this other thing, spin it up and say, now who can I get to help me with this? Not, how I'm going to do it, because then that becomes me and they're doing it. But who can help me? And that becomes the, leverageable moment that you speak of. So now, Rob, with the 5 minutes that we got, because I know, we try to get out of here at a certain time so we can honor the rest of our days.
Before we transition, I wanted to say one other thing about Edison before you jump into that, because I think it's really powerful about what you're talking about. What most people don't know, right? Most people know Edison from General Electric. That was the company that he started that dealt with the product that he put forth, which was the light bulb, and then direct current and a methodology. But what most people don't know is that laboratory that you were talking about was called Menlo Laboratories, and Menlo Laboratories had patents and was joint venture partners with a bunch of different companies that ain't have nothing to do with General Electric. And what people so he first built Menlo Laboratories, then he built General Electric. General Electric is what people know him for, but Menlo Laboratories under Menlo Labs. Yep, Menlo Labs. And that's the thing I think is so important, kind of going back to what we were talking about. He built this and made this profitable, and then he was able to take that information and go do something huge with it.
Yeah. So that's what we want to say to you entrepreneurs out there as you're listening in on this. And you're saying, well, why are these guys, masterminding on this? Because we've identified that, especially right now, it's a problem. And we like to solve problems. We like to mastermind on these problems. And again, if you disagree, or if you agree with what we're saying, or you want to share some of the things that you're experiencing so we can mastermind on it, put some information in the description or in the comment section, and we'll come in and answer those questions. We look at these very often. And, if you want us to help you with this stuff, well, of course we can come in and do that. We've both got my master's degree is in organizational development. I don't even lead with that. Right. right. Because I look at the college career and go, well, I could have spent that time starting things, but anyway, that's another story. But when I created the company that I created with the idea that I can create other companies as like that testing lab, right? As that opportunity to go in and says, hey, I have a problem that I think should be solved, and I'm going to build a company around it, right? And then I just called it Our Bridge Business Institute, because it was like, this is where I put the ideas. I spin things up. I try things, fail at stuff, fail fast, go out there, and then once produced, see how I can help grow them, right? And are you building that kind of company so that I never fall out of love? This is a key. I wanted to be able to create something that was, a situation where I would never fall out of love with what I'm doing within Our Bridge Business Institute, whether it's spinning up a podcast or spinning up some digital stuff. Next, I'm going to be looking at how can I create in the NFT space? How can I create in the blockchain space? How can I create in the augmented reality space? But because I have the house, I can build another room. And then you say, well, I'm going home. Now, I don't know what room I'm going to go in, but I'm going home. And it becomes the thing that you still want to continually do. This is our hope for you, everybody, is that you stay in love with your companies, because your companies need you. The things that you have put in, the time and energy, it needs your attention. What is that attention? Is it more leadership? That Rob is an expert at that. Is it more marketing? I'm an expert at that. Is it more, I need to pay more attention to my spreadsheet? What is it that your company is asking of you to do? Right? Otherwise, it will fire you. We don't want it to happen. Rob, man, I appreciate your time today, sir. We have,
brother.
I think we solved a couple of situations for folks, and we didn't want to go dig too deep into it. We just wanted to be a little bit inspirational, a little bit motivational, and just to let you know that your company wants to fall back in love with you, and we want you to fall back in love with it. Right? We want you to just do it in the right way. Two Business Guys have been masterminding on that today, and we appreciate you listening. Rob, is there any last little things that you want to say to folks before we take off?
Hey, the biggest thing I think is just remember that you got to take the steps in the order that you need to take them. The thing that I always think, and what rings in my head again, it's a Robert Kiyosaki quote: be, do, have. Know who you want to be. Know what you're trying to become. Get that fixed in your mind so that you know what success looks like. Then you start working on what you need to do to become that thing, and you will have whatever it is that you want.
Okay, guys, you heard it from, the best. We'll be seeing you next week, everybody. In the meantime, have a profitable week.
Yes.
We wish that for you. All right. Thank you.
Definitely.